Always flip.
All right, hallelujah. Shabbat shalom once again. Today, we have a few announcements before we actually go into the message the Most High has put on our heart. How many of you have a bulletin? If you do, open it, please. We are extremely excited about the Passover that is right around the corner, and it's definitely becoming more and more intense every day. Looking forward to seeing those that are coming in from all over the country and even some from around the world. We welcome you in advance. We look forward to the saints of Yah gathering together once again here in Fresno, California, and to the 12 tribes of Israel worldwide. Those that can make it out, and those that are praying for us, we salute you in the mighty name of our Abba Yah. First thing I want to put out before we get started, I want to kind of use this time as a little bit of information, is that our Friday night dinner, which is the beginning of Passover, our Passover dinner, because of the huge response that we have been getting from Hebrews all over, we had to change our venue. We had to change where we're going to meet. A meeting here in the Ark is not going to fit everybody. So yesterday we went and secured a meeting facility, a banquet hall. The name of the banquet hall is spelled like this: Fagbule, Glass House. Fagbule Glass House. All right, those of you who are receiving our bulletins, you will see it on the bulletin if you're getting it online. Those of you in the room, we know y'all have it. What's going on over here? We need y'all to fix that. So it'll be the Glass House Event Center. Glass House Event Center, and the address, so that will not be held here at the Ark building. The Ark building is too small to house the people that are coming. So this is the building that will be held. It is 1930 East Shields Avenue, Fresno, California, 93726. So it's 1930 East Shields Avenue. We will remember to put a link on our website, as well as another link on this video to remind you where it's going to be. It will be fantastic. We're having a good time. We looked at it yesterday, and the venue was just wonderful. All right, so that's number one. The actual dinner will be held in a different facility and be at the Glass House in Fresno. Second thing we want you to notice in your bulletin is that there has been an update to the activities list for the whole week. Those that are coming in on Thursday or Friday and staying the whole week, you'll want to look at the website once again, or just download your bulletin. Many of you are already on our mailing list and you get these weekly bulletins, so make sure you download that, and you will see the changes and the locations of those changes. Also, let's not forget that on the High Shabbat, we will be meeting in this place at the Ark at 9 o'clock in the morning. So there'll be a time change. We won't be meeting at 11, we'll be meeting at 9. We will have a message and some singing, and then we're going to caravan together to Lake Millerton, or Millerton Lake. And Millerton Lake is a very beautiful place. We've already set aside the location. And the location will be Grange Grove, the way you spell it, Grange, Grove. That's where we'll be. It's on the Fresno entrance side. So those of you who are coming from out of town, if you're coming for the baptism, that's where we'll be. We've got some very beautiful pictures in the bulletin that you might want to download for your, just so you can see where we're going to be. And I think it's going to be very beautiful. Once again, this is the spring, so the snow runoff will be in the lake. It's going to be a little cold. Look at your name, say it's going to be a little cold. Now, I warned y'all about the ocean, and many of y'all took a chance, was like, I can handle it. And it was freezing out there, shaking and carrying on. I was in my wetsuit. Hallelujah. Once again, I will be in my wetsuit doing the baptism, and I strongly suggest those of you who are being baptized that you do that. Now, you don't have to. You can, there's a new term I'm trying to get used to. They say you can beast it. Y'all know what that means? Some of y'all can just beast it. That means you can just, I guess, push right through the cold, handle it. But those of us who are going to be in the water, especially doing the baptism, we're going to take precautions. But the place is beautiful. And there's restrooms for changing everything right by the boat dock where we'll be baptizing. It's going to be a very, very wonderful experience for those of you who haven't done it. This will be like our 4th or 5th time doing it, and oh my goodness, it's a fantastic experience to go down into the water as a group from all over and are baptized together. So those are the 3 main things I wanted to bring your attention to. Of course, 3rd or 4th is that, of course, there is an update on the website concerning the registration that people have been asking about. We have updated the website. Many of you have used it. Thank you so much, Toda Rabbah, for registering. Now we have a better idea of how many people are coming from out of town and who they're bringing with them. We're looking forward to seeing all of you. There is a suggested donation. Y'all say suggested. Yeah, because we don't want people thinking, oh, they charging us to eat the Passover. No, it's a suggested donation of $20 a plate. Children under 12 will eat free. No one turned away for lack of funds. I need to say that again. No one turned away for what? There's way too many people here at the Ark that don't have a problem bearing the infirmities of the weak. We don't have that problem. Well, somebody gonna cover you. If you come here hungry, ready to eat, somebody is gonna cover you. That's how we are here at the Ark. Now, if I'm testifying to truth, those of you who are in the Ark and know how we get down, would y'all testify to the world? Amen. All right, y'all heard it. So don't let that be an excuse why you don't come and share with the family during Passover. We'll have more to discuss about that a little bit later. The Bible tells us very plainly in the book of the Psalm, in 100, to make a joyful noise unto Yahuwah, all ye lands or all ye nations. It says, serve him with gladness and come before his presence with singing. And so, may I say this? The message of celebrating Yah is a universal message. Hallelujah. It's really telling the whole world to give thanks to Yah for choosing and making a nation that would bring the message of salvation to the world. He says, enter into his gate with thanksgiving and into his court with praise. So the entering into his gate at the time of the Bible was literal. They literally walked into the gates of the city. Yes. And the idea of thanksgiving was not verbal, just saying thank you. That had more to do with the idea of praise. Thanksgiving meant that you entered into his court bringing an offering to say thank you to him. That's when you supported the work. That's when you gave and brought the prescribed offerings or whatever it was under the system. Under the order of Melchizedek that we are now in, even though we don't have a temple, the principle of entering into the gate and assembly and supporting one another in the work is still the principle and the attitude that we have when we come to giving, when it comes to giving. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We don't just receive from Yah, but we also give, or we share what we receive. We not only get from him, but being Hebrew means that we give what he gives to us. It becomes a beautiful cycle of giving and sharing and receiving. And so when we give Zion, this is not under some weird pressure. This is not under some kind of strange marketing plea, or what's the term that they use when they put pressure on you, like at a car lot, to give? Is it
hustle?
Huh?
Hustle.
He said a hustle. Yeah, this ain't no hustle.
No, sir. No,
sir. They call it a high something kind of sale. We are not of that sort. Yah loves, watch this, a cheerful giver. When you support the work of the kingdom, it has to come from a pure place of righteousness and cheerfulness. Because I hope you know he don't really need your money. The earth is yours. You need to experience the blessing of giving. You need to experience the blessing of supporting something that's making a difference in the lives of people. It helps us. You think you may rob Yah, but you cannot do that. You're really hurting yourself when you hold back that which belongs to him. But everybody bow with me. Abba Yah, we know under the order of Melchizedek that we are told and instructed that Abraham gave tithes, which was a tenth. And then we're also told throughout the Bible that gifts and offerings were brought to you for the work of the kingdom. And even now, as we are stewards of whatever it is you gave us, reveal to us how we can then be good stewards by investing into the kingdom that which you have invested into us. And let everything be done from a pure place so that you can receive honor and glory. Hallelujah. Amen. Would you mind, Malcolm, coming and giving us a song while we give? Okay. Shalom.
Yeah. Come on, everybody. Say we worship. Yah, we worship. Yah, we worship you. Yah, we worship you. With our free will offering. Yah, we worship you. Yah, we worship. Yah, we worship you. Hallelujah. 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 Last time, everyone in the room, say hallelujah. 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 Beautiful, beautiful. Hallelujah. 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 Let's stand. Let's give him praise. Hallelujah. 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 Let's get a clap going. Let's get a clap going. Come on, y'all. This is a happy new year. Hallelujah. The same way that Moray said, this is our free will offering. Our praise is our free will offering to the Most High. So if you do not want to give, no pressure. But while I'm standing here, I'm going to open my mouth. Hallelujah. I'm going to raise my hands. Hallelujah. I'm going to make a shout and say, hallelujah. 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 Happy New Year. Hallelujah. Let's move to the left. Move to the left. Hallelujah. I said now. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Shema. Shema Israel. Yahuwah Eloheinu. Yahuwah Echad. Shema Israel. Yahuwah Eloheinu. Yahuwah Echad. Selah, 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 Selah. I always say this, I am not a performer. When you look at me, you're basically singing to me. And I know that's not what we're here for. Hallelujah. Who are we singing the praises to? When we say Shema Israel, Yahuwah Eloheinu, not Malcolm Norwood, right? Not Mori Yoshiyahu, right? We're singing to Yahuwah. So command your soul where you're standing to worship the Most High. Hallelujah. Because I'm not here to entertain you. I rebuke any skepticism. I rebuke I rebuke it. I rebuke it. Hallelujah. 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 I said now. Hallelujah. 1, 2, 3. Shema. Yahuwah Eloheinu. Yahuwah. Hallelujah. 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 Shema Israel. Shema Israel. Yahuwah Eloheinu. Yahuwah more time. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Shema Israel. Yahuwah Elohim. Yahuwah Echad. When you're standing, give the Most High praises. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Oh, I feel better now. I said I feel better now. Hallelujah. Once again, Shabbat Shalom. Happy New Year. I pray that this year that Yah has blessed us to see will be one that's filled with goodness and happiness and joy and peace and meekness and shalom. Hallelujah. It's good to have, we have brothers and sisters that come and to be with us on today, and we appreciate you all coming. We're going to hear from you a little later on. And of course, always, my sister Malcolm, when she's ever in town, it's always good to have her with us. Hallelujah. Teaching and leading us in how to give honor and praise to the Most High Yah. Praise will move you out of your comfortability. Oh, yes, it will. Praise has a way. Can I say it like this without being offensive? Praise not only moves, it can remove.
Yes, sir.
Some of y'all older than me, you caught that. You say, oh, you know, reach back. Praise not only moves, it can also remove. And that's, a lot of us not only need to be moved by Yah, but there's things in our lives need to be removed by Yah. And oftentimes it's the praise that breaks those yokes and loosen those hooks so that they'll be able to fall off of us. And we can be the people that we need to be. So therefore we need to learn to praise. Hallelujah. We are entering into our season of Pesach. And so, of course, the next couple of lessons will have those emphasis, Passover emphasis, and then we'll be back in our series through the book of Matthew. But I was looking, Zion, at a passage of scripture that the Most High once again sort of tugged on me and said, I want you to deliver this message to the 12 tribes of Yisrael worldwide and the companions. And so, in obedience to him, I'm going to seek to deliver the message that he has given me to deliver on today. So, if you don't mind, I want to go to Abba Yah in prayer. Abba Yah, we don't have words sufficient enough to say thank you for this opportunity to actually gather, study, and share your word on this beautiful Shabbat. A day that has been set aside from the beginning of time. We find ourselves toward the end of time reclaiming this beautiful day of worship. I pray that the Ruach speak to our hearts And those that have an ear to hear, that will hear what the Ruach is saying to the assembly. Breathe on your people. Open their eyes and their heart. Wake up the sleeping and raise up the dead, that we might walk in truth. Hallelujah. Amen. Matthew 16. Yahoo 16. Tremendous passage once again. Matthew 16, we're going to begin at verse number 1 and look at a few verses. Matthew chapter 16, verse 1. Those of you who've been with me for a while already know I can read by myself, but I'd much rather we roll together. Hallelujah. Watch this. Y'all with me?
Amen.
The who?
Pharisees.
The Pharisees also with the
Sadducees.
So we have Pharisees and we have Sadducees came and come on. Tempting, desired him that he would show them a sign. This is in the Bible, from heaven. Verse 2. And he answered and said unto them, come on. When it is what? Evening. You say what? You say, when it's evening, you all say, man, it's going to be fair weather. For the sky is red. And in the morning, it will be what kind of weather? Foul weather today, for the sky is and threatening or lowering. Then he says, oh, you hypocrites. You can oh my goodness. What's he saying? Come on, y'all help me. You can what? Discern the face of the sky. But you come on. But can you not? Come on. You can look and tell what's happening in the world based on looking at the sky, but you can't look around and discern, watch this, what time it is. Verse 4, what's he calling?
Wicked.
He said, you're wicked and what?
Adulterous generation.
Wicked and adulterous generation. Why? You seek after a sign. Yeah. Wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign. You looking for something. And I'm going to give you it. Watch what he says. And there shall be
No sign given.
but, which means y'all looking for all kind of stuff. Here's the sign. What is the sign going to be? Now I'm going to put this in. Don't add to it or subtract from the scripture. So I'm telling you when I'm commenting. He said it, dropped the mic and walked off. You wicked and adulterous generation. All y'all doing talking about show me a sign, show me a sign. I'm not showing you nothing but the sign of Jonah. In other words, if you can't catch that, then you fulfill my description of who you are.
Davis.
He left. And when his disciples were come to the other side, somebody read verse 5, they had forgotten to do what?
Take bread.
It's in the Bible. And the Messiah said, and Yehoshua said unto them what? Take heed and, come on, beware of the, he said, take heed, beware of the leaven, L-E-A-V-E-N, of the Pharisees and the, come on. And they reasoned among themselves. I'm reading this right out the Bible. Saying, is it because we've taken no bread? Oh, really? The Messiah is still sort of hot, you know, because he had to tell these Pharisees and Sadducees off. And he's not talking. He's just on the, and he's just standing there. He's still sort of boiling. So when his boys finally reach to where he is, the first thing out of his mouth is, beware of the leaven. Pharisees and Sadducees. And you know where their mind went? Oh, shoot. Oh, man. Tripping. What? Did you get the bread? No, I didn't get the bread. Oh. Matthew, did you get the bread? Man, I thought you was going to get the bread. See, that's why I'm fool with you Hebrews. And you said you was going to get the bread. And they murmuring. If we would have brought the bread, he wouldn't be warning us not to take the bread from the Pharisees, because what he's thinking is that because we didn't bring our bread, that we're going to get so hungry that we're going to start eating the bread that the Pharisees give us. Blah, blah, blah. He was like, oh boy, y'all cannot be that far off. Okay, let's see if I'm telling the truth. And they reason, verse 7, come on y'all, among saying, what? They were like, man, we in trouble. Now, when the master perceived, when Yeshua perceived, he said unto them, what did he say? Oh, you of how much faith? That means you don't really know much, do you? You're not too bright. Understanding, not too keen. Your faith and your trust is not where it should be. Why reason among yourselves because you have brought no bread? I mean, how is that your conclusion to what I'm saying? Verse 9. Come on. Ooh, now, whenever the master asks a question like that, that's a heavy one. Do you not understand? It's like, neither remember. So you don't understand, nor do you remember the what? And how? In other words, you didn't understand the 5 loaves I gave you and what that was all about, and how many baskets you took up afterward? Watch this. Verse 10. Neither the and how? He said, so I guess y'all got a short memory and bad understanding. Can we do this? Flip quickly just to the previous chapter. So we're in 16, just look in 15. Just go to 15, verse 35. In other words, I want you to see that what he's talking about just happened. Look at that, let's look at it. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the ground. He took 7 loaves and the fishes and gave thanks and gave them to his disciples. And the disciples to the multitude, and they did all eat and were filled, and they took up of the broken meat that was left 7 baskets full. And they that did eat were 4,000 men, besides women and children. And he sent away the multitude and took ship and came to the coast of Magdala. Now, you see that this just happened. And what he's saying in verse 10 is, didn't I give you from 7 loaves enough food for 4,000 men? Now, to let you know that he knew what they were talking about, turn to Mark chapter 8. That's just the very next book over. Mark chapter 8. Y'all see it? Mark 8. Let's go down to verse. Let's look at 13. Because it's the same thing. Let's start. And he left them and entered into a ship, again departed to the other side. Now the disciples, here it is, them young Hebrew Israelites have forgotten to take bread. Everybody thought somebody else was going to do it. Neither had they in the ship with them any more than how many loaves?
1 loaf.
And it's 12 brothers, 12 grown men, 1 loaf of bread. And he charged them, saying, take heed, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. Add that one. So you have now the leaven of the Pharisees mentioned, the leaven of the Sadducees mentioned, and Mark gives us another insight. He says there's also the leaven of Herod. Now watch this. These 3, leaven of Pharisee, the leaven of Sadducees, and the leaven of Herod, will come in this message to represent 3 main teaching governments. The Pharisaical government represents the right-wing religionists. The Sadducees represents the Sadduceical group represents, the Pharisaical group represent right-wing. Did I say left-wing?
Yeah.
Pharisees, right-wing. The Sadducees are the liberals. They represent the left wing. And the Herodians represent the government. They represent what is politically correct. Y'all in the room? Now watch this. Why reason you, because you have no bread, perceive not, neither understand? Have your hearts yet been hardened? This is what he says. Oh my. Are you guys messed up? Is your heart been hardened? Have you been affected by something that's not allowing you to see? You have eyes, but you can't see. And having ears, said, you hear not. He said, what's going on with you guys? You got eyes, I'm looking at your eyes, but I'm seeing that you can't see. And I know you have ears because you hear me, but you're not hearing me. And do you not remember when I broke the 5 loaves among the 5,000? I mean, that was a big, huge miracle, wasn't it? Y'all done forgot it already. It's one of our problems, Zion. We are quick to forget the marvelous and wonderful works that the Most High Yah does for us. Watch this. And how many baskets of fragments you took up? And they said 12. Oh, they remembered. So you remembered after you started with 2 fish and 5 loaves, you had 12 baskets. Okay. And when the 7 among 4,000, how many baskets full of fragments took you up? And they said 7. And he said, I don't get how you don't understand. Can I share with you what he was saying? He was saying, I don't know how your brain went to physical bread when I can make bread anytime I want to. How did your mind go to a lack of physical bread when I took 4 loaves and fed, or I took 7 loaves of bread and fed 7,000 people? 4,000 one time, 5,000 another. Come on now, what is the issue here? How is it, Zion, that when Yah speaks about leaven, your brain is going to something physical? How did you think I was talking about getting on the other side, and then all of a sudden we're going to start eating the physical bread that the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Herodians are going to be feeding us, as though as the Messiah, as the Master, as the King, I can't just make bread anytime I want to. So now you see the frustration coming out of our King toward those who are supposed to be following him, watch this, and paying attention to him. He's like, y'all not paying attention because you're forgetting so fast. And you're drawing conclusions that I would never think that you would be drawing. In Matthew, he says, I'm not talking about beware of the bread, physical bread that the Pharisees and the Sadducees and Herodians eat. He said, no. I'm talking about the doctrine.
Yes, sir.
I'm talking about the teachings that are coming out of these camps. The Pharisee camp, the Sadducee camp, and the Herod camp, along with the scribes. I'm going to help Zion right now. Write this down. The laws, plural, of the Pharisees are not equal to the laws of Torah. And so you don't have to repeat it, just, same phrase. The law of the Sadducees are not equal to the laws of Torah. And one more. The laws of, watch this, the Herodians, or the law of Herod, which represent the government, is not equal to the laws of Torah. You should have those 3 down. The laws of the Pharisees are not, the laws of Sadducees are not, the laws of the government or Herod is not. Which brings us to a very important point, Zion. That when you read scripture and it's referring to the Pharisees, the Sadducees, or Herod, know that they were all teaching from a man-made base. That somehow man had worked his ideas into how man is supposed to live and be governed. So y'all get that point. Now watch this. For the word law, substitute this word, teaching. Teaching. The teachings of the Pharisees do not equal the teachings of Torah. Same thing. The teachings of the Sadducees are not equal to the teachings of Torah. And the teachings of the government or the teachings of Herod are not equal to Torah. The reason I'm sharing this with you, Zion, is because many of us who grew up sort of like in a religious circle or Christianity or whatever, we were taught that the Pharisees were teaching the laws of Moses. And when the Messiah rejected the teaching of the Pharisees, that was him rejecting the teachings of Moses. And therefore we need to reject the teachings of Moses. But I'm trying to help the worldwide assembly, all 12 tribes and their companions. You need to see something. The Pharisees were not teaching the laws of Moses. The Pharisees were teaching the traditions of man that had taken over. They had usurped the position of Yah's law, the Torah. As a matter of fact, those traditions that they taught, Pharisees, Sadducees, and Herodians, watch this, had become so much a part of the law, it made the true Torah of none effect. Am I in the room? If you all could bear with me for a while, I got to take you on this journey of this idea of leaven. The first time we really hear about leaven in a major way is in the book of Exodus, chapter 12. Go with me. Exodus chapter 12. As I said, we're going to tie this in to what we're doing as we prepare for Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And Yahuwah spake unto Moshe, unto Aaron, in the land of Egypt. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. This is where we are, Zion. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month you shall take unto them every man a lamb according to his house and their fathers, and a lamb for a house. Now we're going to talk about that lamb next week. And if the house will be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall take your count for the lamb. Verse 5. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male in the first year, and you shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats, and you shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. The whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take up the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper doorpost of the house, wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire. And here it is, what? And unleavened bread. So the first time in significance we see that term is here. And unleavened bread. And with bitter herb they shall eat it. Eat it not raw, nor sodden at all, with water, but roast with fire. His head, with his legs, and with the pertinence thereof. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. And that which remaineth until the morning ye shall burn with fire. And thus ye shall eat it with your loins girded, shoes on your feet, and staff in your hand. And you shall eat it in haste. It is Yah's Passover. Now watch this. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I'm Yahuwah. And the blood shall be to you a token upon the house where you were. And when I see the blood, I will do what? That's where we get the feast. I will pass over you. And the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. This day and this day shall be for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast how long? Oh, wait a minute. To Yahuwah how long? Throughout every generation. How come he didn't say keep this feast until the Messiah comes and you don't have to keep it no more? He's going to keep this feast forever. And the Messiah expects you to keep it forever. That's why he said, this is the last time I'm going to eat it with you now until I eat it again or drink again with you in the kingdom. In other words, I'm expecting you to keep doing this feast in remembrance of me forever. All right, let's watch this. And you shall keep it by an ordinance forever. Can y'all say forever? Forever. Say it again, forever. Forever. One more time, forever. Forever. When did forever stop meaning forever? Verse 15. 7 days shall you eat what? Unleavened bread. We go back to that bread again. 7 days we're supposed to eat unleavened bread. Bread with no leaven in it. On the first day you shall put away the leaven out of your, talk back. That means first day of the feast, get rid of all the leaven in the house. They're just dismissing the children. Let me read that again. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread. Even the first day shall you put away leaven out of your houses. So the idea is to get the leaven. At this time, he's talking about the real leaven, which y'all will call yeast today, out of your house. Whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the seventh day, that soul shall be what? The Bible says cut off from Israel. Underline that. We're going somewhere with this thought. Anybody who eats leavened bread during the time of this feast, that soul will be cut off from Israel. And in the first day there shall be a holy convocation. It's right there. That's why we're going to meet for Passover on Friday night, because it's a convocation. It's a time when we're all going to get together and we're going to eat a meal together with unleavened bread in order to signify what happened in Egypt that dreadful night when the death angel came into the land of Egypt and the death angel struck the firstborn of everyone without the blood. Me and Uncle Neville was talking about this the other day, and he was like, what happened to them Hebrews who decided not to put the blood on the door? See, of all of the plagues that happened in Egypt, every one of them happened, watch this, outside of Goshen. But when he came to the last plague, it was like, this one gonna hit the whole land, including Goshen. If you are disobedient to this plague, believe me, the consequences, of this command, the consequences of this plague will hit your house. So you got two things. One, put that blood on the door. Number two, get that leaven out your house. So you see this twofold witness to the children of Israel. All right, let's keep going. So leaven then, at this point in Scripture, we know is representing the rising agent that's in bread, which we call yeast, that is mixed into the bread by human hands in order to create a rise or the fluffiness that we really like and appreciate when we eat good bread. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. And so it is man's natural inclination to they would rather eat, say, a big soft piece of bread than a flat piece of yeah, I mean, it's just a little bit easier when it comes to the jelly, you know what I'm saying? spreading on. We like the leaven. But he said, in this case, you don't have time. So we see the leavening agent as something that takes a process, but eventually takes over the bread. He said, I don't want that in that bread during that feast. As a matter of fact, just get all the leaven out the house, period. Got another verse for you. Turn to Leviticus chapter 2. So we're in Exodus, just flip to Leviticus. Look at chapter 2. Leviticus chapter 2. So look at Leviticus chapter 2. Still dealing with this leaven. Leviticus chapter 2, verse 11. You're going to see something here that you may not have seen before. Leviticus chapter 2, verse 11 says, no meat offering which you shall bring to Yahuwah shall be made with leaven. Isn't that interesting? Who puts leaven in meat? Who mixes leaven with meat? Oh, the Hebrews was making meatloaf. He said when it comes to offering, an offering, a meat offering, it can also represent food or grain. I'm aware of that. He says don't mix that with leaven. So what you have here is there's a particular offering that Yah says that you are not to mix with leaven. I need it to stay just pure like it is. In other words, you don't add anything to it. Just bring it like I tell you to bring it. So we see leaven mentioned in a negative. Now let's look at Leviticus chapter 7, which is only a couple of verses over. Leviticus chapter 7, Zion, and verse 13. Here is an offering of thanksgiving. Actually, it starts in 12. I'm talking about this Thanksgiving offering, but in 13 it says, besides the cakes, he shall offer for his offering leavened bread. Watch this. With the sacrifice of thanksgiving of his peace offering. Now here Yah is saying, when you bring this offering, I want you to mix it with leaven. And I'll explain that to you in a moment. I want you to put leaven in this one. Because this particular one is going to represent a shalom offering between you and Yah. So we see that leaven is used in the negative and the positive. That's where I'm going with this whole thing. Leaven is used in the negative and the positive. One offering, don't bring it. Other offering, bring it. When we got ready to leave Egypt, get it out your house. When the Messiah comes on the scene, thousands of years later, leaven, L-E-A-V-E-N, had become an idiom. Everybody knew it represented bread, but it represented more than bread. It represented man's input into something. Do y'all get that? Now watch this. When the master speaks of leaven in Matthew 13, let's go there, it's positive. Because he's speaking about the kingdom. Matthew 13. And let's look at verse 33. Matthew 13, 33. Y'all see it? Another parable he spake unto them. Here's what he says. The kingdom of heaven. The kingdom, I'm talking about the kingdom, is like unto leaven. Oh, so leaven itself is not sin. Leaven is an agent that someone puts into something in order to affect a change. It could be good or it could be bad, depending on the context, or depending on the situation, or depending on the circumstance that it is put in. Here he's saying the kingdom is like leaven. What do you mean by that? Oh, yeah, here it is. It's like leaven which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal till the whole was leavened. Can I give you this picture? He said, the kingdom has a powerful effect on this world. And the kingdom's power put in the world and mixed in. Watch this. You in the world but not of the world. It doesn't take everybody to get it to cause a difference on the planet. You just have to be the leaven that represents the kingdom of Yah on a world that is controlled by the kingdom of man. He says, if Yah could get you to act like leaven in this world, you can alter the whole course of the world. You'll change the whole world. And we don't need a lot. So how much we need? Man, just a little pinch.
Come on.
Put a little pinch in Fresno. Put a little pinch in Suriname. Now shout out to my brother and sister in Suriname. Just put a little pinch in Europe. Just put a little pinch in St. Louis. Put a little pinch in New York. Step back and watch the kingdom start to change the whole world. Just a little bit mixed in. So here the master talks about the agent of leaven and the influence of leaven from a positive on how it can be positive, how it can positively affect the world that we live in until the whole leaven, till the whole lump is leavened. But here in this passage that we opened up today, he says, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. So now we see another type, or we see leaven being used in a wrong or evil way. So therefore, it behooves us, Zion, to try to understand what this Hebraic word leaven is all about. If we need to know how it represents in Egypt, how it represented in the offerings, how it represented in the teeth, we need to know where it comes from. So let me give you some Hebraic definitions. Y'all gonna roll with me and then we're gonna get out of here. I know I'm taxing your time, I get that. But this goes out worldwide. Those of you in the room, you kind of stuck. Because I've already said it, so if you walk out now, people are gonna be like, man, they couldn't endure. Those of you who are watching live, y'all can just turn it on and come back anytime you want. I get that too. Let's watch this. Let's watch this. The Hebraic definition of leaven. It's samek resh is the root. And I guess it would be pronounced seer or sir. And when you look at the base definition of the Hebrew word, it means to rule, R-U-L-E. And the idea of ruling, when it comes to, say, an adjective, it would be a ruler or a noble person or nobleman. It comes from the letters themselves. The samek representing here a thorn, T-H-O-R-E, like a sticker, like you step on a thorn. And The resh represents the head. And it's very interesting because the thorn, if anybody's ever walked in the country and stepped on a thorn, it stops you in your track. We have what's called goat heads where I live. They're not up yet, but in a few months, boy, they'll be in all their pokey glory. And if you're wearing some thin shoes, they can poke through your soul. It's true. But if you're out there barefooted running around the country where there's goat heads, you could be moving and running and be like, oh, if it hits you, it stops you. And the immediate reaction is you're going to turn and see what you stepped on. Because I've seen grown men walk out and be like, like, I'm talking about, but they hit that little bit of thorn, it stops them and they turn. It's painful, immediately, pain, a thorn. Watch this. So the idea of something that stops you and turns is part of the root of this word thorn. Now watch this. The second word is resh, head. So when you put to turn and head together, then the root of that particular word means to turn the head. It means to turn the head. So therefore, the way the Hebrews thought was, a ruler, a nobleman, is one who turns the head of the people. Did you get that, Zion? So this particular word has to do with turning you in a particular direction. That's the root of it. So watch this. In case of a, say, ruler, he turns the head of the people in the direction he wants them to go. Whether you like the ruler or not, he becomes a ruler and he then turns the head of the people. He changes the way they think and he changes their direction. You see that in all kind of movies where there's a new ruler and all of a sudden there's a new direction for the nation, right? When it comes to the field of education, like a parent, they are put in place to turn the head of their children or their offspring. It's the same root word. I know y'all thinking, how did this become leaven? I'm going to show you in a moment. So the idea of leaven, the root of that word comes from the idea of turning someone's head. It's samek resh, and to turn to a direction. So it could be applied to several things. Let's look at a few things. First of all, let's look at a government. A government can be sir, because the government is a group of people that turn another group of people in a particular direction. You might be wanting to do one thing and the government come together and say, we'll make this against the law. All of a sudden, you can't do that thing anymore. They've turned you. If it's true of a government and if it's true of a leader and it's true of a parent, then the Hebrews also applied that same word to a yoke. So the idea of a yoke that they would put on an ox, then they would yoke up another ox. The whole purpose is to be able to turn it in any direction they want the ox to travel. It's the yoke that basically turns the head of the beast. So this word became a root word for yoke. This word is also a root for the word, and here's where we get in our lesson, to knead. K-N-E-A-D. Those of you who've ever made bread know that what you do with the yeast, once you have the dough, is you don't just put it on there and leave it alone, do you? Come on, talk about it. Once you put the yeast in, then what happens? You gotta then do something. Start turning it. You start turning it and mixing it. That's why when you put it in a mixing bowl with the big what?
Processor.
Yeah, like a processor, you got this thing that's turning. So you see how they relate? That's how Hebrews do. Everything has a function. So when you look at the idea of leaven, leaven came back to an idea that something being put into something and then being turned is causing a difference. So bread itself became idiomatic for that which goes into a person, watch this, and then begins to turn that person until the results are something different than how it started. Say it again. The word had become idiomatic for that which entered into a person to then turn the person, so that the person ends up different than how they started. So in the Bible, in the manuscript, you are always presented with two types of food. That which goes in you to make you better or to turn your life into that which is good, and that which goes in you that then turns you for destruction. And all through the Bible, you're faced with that particular choice. What do you eat? As a matter of fact, I might rename this whole thing. Watch what you eat. Because whatever goes in you begins to change you and turn the way your body functions. You eat pigs, you're going to start looking like a pig and thinking like a pig and acting like a pig. Besides, it's against our Mosaic law to do so. But everybody knows physically that you just don't eat anything. The Messiah said, man shouldn't live by bread alone, but he needs, watch this, every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yah. Interesting, isn't it? What is he saying? He's saying what man needs inside of him is not just physical leaven and dough. What man needs to actually turn him in the right direction is to eat the word of Torah. He eats the word of the Torah. It goes in his system. It is then like leaven mixed in. And after a while, you keep eating Torah, you're just going to start walking Torah. You're going to start thinking Torah. You're going to start living Torah because it has a leavening effect. But likewise, if you start eating the bread of Pharisees, the bread of Sadducees, and the bread of Herodians, if you start eating the right-wing religionists or the left-wing religionists, or watch this, or the government, you're going to be destroyed. I was looking at this lesson, I said, what are you really trying to teach us? He said, I'm trying to teach you that man-made teachings are dangerous. It might look pretty. It might look attractive. It might look inviting. But it's dangerous because it has leaven in it. There's something in those teachings that are put there to get into your soul and then start turning until it starts affecting you. And the next thing you know, you're going to have a problem with Torah. You listen to enough man-made teachings. You read enough man-made books. You watch enough man-made commentaries. And it will develop in you this weird attitude toward Torah, where you will start preferring man over Yah. And when the master told his disciples that, and they didn't get it, he was like, I don't understand how y'all don't get that. I'm not talking about bread here. I'm talking about their teachings. The word had to do with doctrine. We've been taught wrong, Zion. Right now, the majority of our people are getting ready to celebrate a satanic festival that they believe in their heart is biblical. Because over time, the leaven of Astarte went into the heart and soul of the people. Watch this. And man's hand kept turning it and turning it and turning it and turning it until eventually Easter became one of the biggest days of what they call the Christian religion. Think about that. The one day that he warns you about more than any other day in the Bible is the celebration of Astarte, the Queen of Heaven, with them Easter egg hunts and all that. And right now, because some preacher told somebody that's the good thing to do, folk are gearing up for that right now as I speak. But the master said, beware of leaven. But we're like, I don't have to beware of leaven. I can take any doctrine I want, because this is what people say. Stephen, they say, I am mature enough to eat the meat and what? Spit out the bones. Are you really? But you still worshiping on Sunday. Because man said do it. Now you have an affinity toward Sunday morning as a convocation over the Shabbat. Yah said keep the Shabbat, right? Man said no, it's on Sunday. But because you let the leaven in to your system, you have now, can I say this, been puffed up. So you won't change now because your arrogance and you're unwilling to admit you've been wrong this whole time. Easter, the leaven that got in you, now that's your thing. There's Hebrews watching me right now, unconscious, that haven't stepped foot in a religious assembly all year long. Trying to rob Peter to go out and get some new Stacys right now. They finna swindle and hoodwink to go get them some new clothes. They're gonna do it, and they're gonna do it for one show on one day that the Most High never told us to celebrate. Everything about that celebration is a lie. He didn't die on Friday, and he didn't get up Sunday. He didn't tell us to get no Easter eggs, no little fake plastic grass and chocolate bunnies, and none of that. But we're getting ready to do it. No, watch this. Because the leaven got in.
That's good, David. That's good.
And turned us away from Passover. So now people have an affinity toward Easter and a disdain or a hatred toward keeping Yah's feast of Passover.
Yes, they do.
And there's no excuse, because the master said, I told you to beware of that. I told you to watch people who always want to slip in man's idea, because watch this, man always has an ulterior motive and an agenda. Y'all have been kind. I'm gonna get out your way. Watch this. Let me just give you this. It doesn't take a lot of yeast or leaven to create a lot of damage. That's what makes it so tricky. See, a lot of us, we dibbling and dabbling in areas that we really shouldn't be dibbling and dabbling in.
Amen.
We don't know how this leaven is affecting us in our soul. Let me show you what I mean. How many of y'all heard the teaching that's out there that says we saved by grace, and since you're saved by grace, you're free from the law and you can do whatever you want? Raise your hand. Because all the sin that you committed, past, present, and future, is under the blood. Therefore, you can't be judged by man, because Yah's already took your sin, nailed it to the cross, nailed the law to the cross. It's now done away with. How many of y'all heard all that? So therefore, you've got assemblies that teach that on a regular basis, and they put Rabbi Shaul, who most people know as the Apostle Paul, who's one of our greatest teachers as a Hebrew Israelite, a black man, by the way. They're trying to put that doctrine on him as though that's what he taught. And let's see what he actually taught. Can we do that?
Okay.
Then I'm out. Y'all got it. Y'all gonna have a point. Then I'm out. This is my exit. So watch this. Stay with this. 1 Corinthians chapter 5. Now this is the same Rabbi Shaul, Paul, that everybody wants to say, told us we ain't under no law, we're under grace, because they completely misunderstood those words. Law, as I said, there's such thing as Pharisaical law, Sadduceical law, and law from Herod. Every time the word law is used in the Bible, it doesn't mean Torah. But anyway, let's see what he says. Y'all been very kind today. I appreciate your patience. Watch this. 1 Corinthians chapter 5. They write him a letter, and he's responding, and he says, it is reported commonly that there is what? Don't whisper that word, y'all. Is what? It's fornication. Uh-oh, we got a problem. If we saved by grace and sin don't matter, why he bringing up fornication? It's under the blood. It's nailed to the cross. We saved by grace. Paul, you off base, man. Come try to tell me something about what I should and shouldn't do if my sins have been forgiven, past, present, and future. You have no right then to bring up anything concerning my behavior. We got, like, guys like D.D. Snakes and others. The blood, 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 the blood. The blood what? Is the blood an excuse to continue breaking y'all's laws? Let's see. Let's read it. Don't be afraid to read the Bible. That's what you got it for. There's reported there's fornication among you, and such fornication is not so much as named among the Goyim. Woo, you Hebrews can take sin into a whole nother level. What is that? That one should have this congregation was off the hook. One of the deacons sleeping with his daddy's concubine, wife. He done made his daddy's wife his concubine. His daddy's wife is his side piece. His daddy's wife. The idea is this ain't his mama. This is not his mother. His father has married again. And this fella and the new wife, stepmama, is I think I'm trying to make it, this is going out 12 tribes, right? He said, dude, that's your daddy's. Now here is what I want y'all to see. And ye, that is plural, are, come on. Whoa. Have y'all seen this in Corinth? To where what he's saying here is not necessarily so much against the man, but against the congregation that's allowing it. This is what he's saying. You as a congregation, you talking about you saved by grace. So now you're using the worst sin you could possibly think of as a way to win the loss. Let me say that again. You're using what you believe is permissible under grace to win lost people. How can I say it another way? You're saying, come and be a part of our church because here you can do whatever you want and you still saved. Matter of fact, our deacon, who's a faithful deacon,
Come on, David.
we love him. He's here every week, opening the doors and mopping floors and feeding the hungry. He's with his daddy's wife, and he's still saying we all in this thing together. So no matter what your sin is, you ain't out sinning Uncle Joe. You ain't out sinning Deacon. Y'all got it now? Because here you can do anything. Oh, here, our choir director sleeps with other men. And he's a man. Because we're under grace now. Come to this fellowship. Here we constantly marry men, and women marry women. And matter of fact, we have a support group. For those of us who folk just don't understand because we're all in here by, come on. We're all in here by grace, and the whole idea is just love one another. Rabbi Shaul was talking to our generation who is now, listen, instead of ashamed of our breaking of Torah, watch this, we are now boasting about it. I went on a website that literally says we welcome all these alphabets. The A, B, C, L, B, K, J, B says this is blah, blah, blah. I'm like, man, what is all them alphabets? I looked them alphabets up and I said, oh, shoot. These alphabets ain't no little bitty alphabets here. This is some heavy stuff that they're, watch this, boasting about. This is how they're advertising. This is how they're growing their assembly. This is how they are getting national publicity. This is how they are getting opportunity to sit down with the heads of government. Through fornication. And Paul says, it ain't so much what the man is doing that's the problem. This is where I'm trying to help Zion. Your attitude. You're puffed up behind it. You're bragging. I remember I have a friend of mine, honestly. He used to brag concerning his congregation because his choir director and leader had been dating, because in those days you couldn't get married, the piano player for like 10 or 15 years. Everybody knew it. It was cool. Everybody said it was fine. But it was like a bragging point. And the church would let you know, listen, if you come here, because they used to ask me to come speak. They say, if you come here, you better make sure you leave them two alone because we need them. That's the best director and that's the best piano player in this whole area. I said, you don't want me then. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to not preach Torah. So obviously y'all know I ain't been back there. So my point is this. As bad as it sounds, it becomes a boasting point. And right now, some of the ungodly behavior of our people are starting to be bragging points among the fellowship. Thank you all for letting me get this far, because I'm going to shut it down. Finally. Let me go to 1 Corinthians, put that on the screen. Let's see. How do I do it here? Let me see, 1 Corinthians chapter. I want y'all to see this. He says, here's your problem. You're puffed up. Can you already see the word leaven? You see the attitude here? This has been put in you. Somebody has needed it. Now it's a part of your group. And have not rather what? Mourn. This should have caused you to go into mourning, which meant to be humble. But no, you start bragging that he that hath done this deed might be what?
Taken away.
Wait, huh? No. We're under grace, Paul. You're the one taught us we saved by grace. You're the one who told us that all the sins, past, present, and future, are forgiven. How are you judging this dude? On what basis do you have to judge him? Verse 4, for I verily, as absent in the body, but present in spirit, have, talk back. How do he do it if he don't believe in the law? If he believes that the law has been done away with, where is his basis for making a judgment call? He's saying what's wrong with this congregation is somebody has put some leaven in here. And when that leaven of unrighteousness and ungodliness and what's the word? The idea of being unlawful became popular, it went through the whole congregation, and now everybody here is so jacked up, they stand in the place talking about we don't have the law. He said, but I'm going to do this. I'm not even there, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a judgment call, like right now. Put that Hebrew out. Huh? Yeah, he got to go. On what basis, Paul? We got to go to Torah. Deuteronomy, quickly. Deuteronomy 22:30. Deuteronomy 22:30. What does it say? Why y'all be whispering things if it have to do with sexual immorality and fornication?
A man shall not take his father's wife.
A man shall not
Take his father's wife.
or
His father's skirt.
Rabbi Shaul said, I ain't even got to show up to make the judgment call on that one. Y'all done already put that in the law. But if there was no law, then he would have no grounds to judge it. He judges it because Paul never in his wildest dreams thought he was ever teaching somebody not to keep the Torah. That's people who want to be godless. That's reading that stuff into Torah. Say, you puffed up, should have mourned instead. For verily absent in body, but present in spirit, have judged already, as though I were present concerning him that does this deed. In the name of Yahuwah, in the name of Master Yeshua HaMashiach, when you are gathered together in my spirit with the power of our Master Yahushua HaMashiach, to deliver such a one unto who? Hasatan, which is synonymous with put him out the camp. for the destruction of the flesh, that the spirit, this is hopefully by being put outside the camp, at least that rascal's soul, he might have a chance. But if he stays in the situation where he's being accepted for that kind of behavior, no worry, watch this. Here's the key. I told y'all the key was not so much the man as the congregation. Watch this. Your glorying is what? It's not tov. It's not functional. What you're doing is not functional. Just like Easter is not functional to the kingdom. Just like all the other pagan things that is going on, it's not functional. It's not good. Your glorying is not good. Know you not that, here it is, a little what? Leaven's what? Man, if you let this go, it is going to mess up the whole congregation. Do you understand that? And it could seep into what's now called what? The Christian church. To now, the whole lump is jacked up. Puffed up. So he says something simple. Purge out therefore what? So are we just talking about bread now? No, y'all know it ain't talking about bread. That you might be a what? In other words, he said you got to get rid of whatever somebody taught you that went against Torah, get rid of that so you can be new. You as ye are unleavened. That means, listen to me, Zion, you are now the unleavened bread. It's you. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. For Hamashiach, our, underline that, what? Passover. So you see two things. I told you in the Passover feast we have the Passover lamb and the unleavened bread. The lamb is Yeshua. The bread is you. And this is what he's trying to say. Yeshua did his part. It's right in the Bible. It says, Hamashiach, our Passover, is sacrificed for us. He did his part. Now it's time for you to do your part. What's my part? I'm the bread. So if I'm now the bread, when it comes to this sacrifice, I have to be the unleavened bread. I cannot be the bread that has the leaven of the Pharisees, Sadducees, or Herod in me. Verse 8, and I'm done. Thank you so much. Verse 8. Therefore, come on. Therefore what? No, let's forget the feast. No, therefore let us stop keeping that feast and let's keep Easter. No. Therefore, let us forget what the Passover is all about, because now we got Jesus.
Let us keep the feast.
That's not what it says. It says, therefore, let us keep it. Let us keep the feast. Let us observe the feast. Let us continually observe the feast. Therefore, let us, come on, one more time.
Keep the feast.
Talk to somebody and say, keep the feast. Then how come nobody's doing it except for the wicked Hebrews? Because everybody else has been eating the leaven that Yah told them not to eat. He said, keep the feast. And here's a list. Number 1, not with old leaven. So he's saying that doesn't mean that you should start going around eating bread. Just because it's a spiritual thing. No, still get the leaven out your house. But this is not what I'm trying to, this is not his emphasis. Get the old leaven out. Neither with the leaven of malice. That means having hurtful thoughts toward one another. Showing up at the feast with hate in your heart. You're like, no, we don't do that. We're going to keep the feast, but don't keep it with that leaven of malice. Because malice grows. It starts off small, but if it gets worked into your spirit, you'll be wanting to hit somebody. You'll be wanting to choke somebody. You'll be wanting to stab somebody. You'll be wanting to shoot somebody. He said, I gotta get rid of that too. Watch this. And what else? Wickedness. That is anything evil. I looked at that word wickedness, and do you know it literally has a root that means idolatry? So what Paul was saying was, keep this feast and don't mix it with any idolatry. And what we did was took this feast and completely mixed it with idolatry. I'm talking about as a people. So now people think that Easter and Passover is synonymous. They disobeyed the root of the teaching of the scripture when they brought one word of Easter into the fellowship. One Easter party, one Easter dance, one Easter meal, one Easter ham, one hot cross buns, one Easter egg, Easter clothes, Easter whatever. He said no idolatry connected to this feast. It has to stay focused on the lamb and the unleavened bread. Yeshua, Yehoshua, and you. But with the unleavened bread of, come on, sincerity and truth. Sincerity is exactly that. It means without hypocrisy or pure. And truth is the Hebrew word emet. And the word emet obviously has to do with strong water or glue or that which holds everything together. The truth of Yah. Aleph, Mem, Tav. The beginning, Aleph. The middle, Mem. The end, Tav. Truth is the beginning, middle, and end. It's what holds everything together. That's how we keep the feast. Beware of the teaching of these false teachers and preachers that's always trying to add something to the text that's not there.
Come on, Dave.
With every head bowed and eyes closed. Think about it. Yeshua said, I am the bread of life. And if you want to live, you have to eat my body and drink my blood. And the people thought he was talking about physical. Man, I ain't talking about that. By eating the bread, he's talking about, honestly, watch this, receiving the truth of Torah, the bread of life. And the drinking of the blood is not drinking blood like a vampire. It's the receiving of the covenant.
Sir.
Because it was not that lamb's blood in Egypt that got the people out. The lamb's blood was just a symbol. It was just a picture of the king's blood that would be shed for the remission of sin and the deliverance from Hasatan. He did his part. And he's up from the dead. Now it's time to do our part. Purge out the old leaven and keep the feast. Abba Yah, thank you. I pray this word goes out with understanding and that the house of Israel will be encouraged and blessed as we enter into this wonderful season of Passover. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Amen.